Hello and welcome to my CISSP Review course, designed to simplify your study, strengthen your knowledge, and help you pass with confidence. I am Seolito Rodriguez. These questions are carefully crafted to address all 8 domains covered by the CISSP exam. Question 31. Which of the following encryption technologies has the ability to function as a stream cipher? A. Cipher block chaining with error propagation. B. Electronic code book. C. Cipher feedback. Or D. Feistel cipher. The correct answer here is C. Cipher feedback or CFB. Cipher feedback is a mode of operation for block ciphers that allows them to function similarly to stream ciphers. It processes small increments of plain text like bits or bytes, making it suitable for streaming data encryption. This capability makes CFB unique among block cipher modes. CFB is used when we want to protect data that's being sent a little bit at a time. For example, when you are talking on a secure phone call or sending a message over the internet or even encrypting a live video stream. Um, CFB, it's great when you need real-time encryption where you cannot wait for a full block of data. Question 32. In a disaster recovery test, which of the following would be a trait of crisis management? A. Process. B. Anticipate. C. Strategic. Or D. Wide focus. The correct answer here is D, wide focus. Crisis management involves a broad strategic perspective that goes beyond just restoring IT systems. It includes managing communication, stakeholder expectations, reputational risk, and business continuity across the entire organization. This wide focus distinguishes from more technical, narrow processes like disaster recovery. Question 33. Which of the following best describes the purpose of the reference monitor when defining access control to enforce the security model? A. A strong operational security to keep unit members safe. B. Policies to validate organization rules. C. Cyber hygiene to ensure organizations can keep systems healthy. Or D. Quality design principles to ensure quality by design. The correct answer here is B. Policies to validate organization rules. The reference monitor is a theoretical concept in security models that enforces access control policies. It ensures that subjects, that is, users, processes, devices, etc., only access objects, files, resources, applications in ways that are authorized according to organizational rules. The goal is to maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. Question 34. Which of the following is security control volatility? A reference to the impact of the security control. B, a reference to the likelihood of change in the security control. C, a reference to how unpredictable the security control is, or D, a reference to the stability of the security control? The correct answer here is B, a reference to the likelihood of change in the security control. Security control volatility refers to how likely a security control is to change over time. This concept is important when assessing and maintaining security measures, as more volatile controls may require more frequent reviews, updates, and revalidation to remain effective. Question 35. When auditing the software development lifecycle SDLC, which of the following is one of the high-level audit phases? A, planning, B, risk assessment, C, due diligence, or D, requirements? The correct answer here is C, due diligence. In the context of auditing the software development lifecycle, or SDLC, due diligence is considered a high-level audit phase. It involves thoroughly reviewing processes, ensuring regulatory and policy compliance, and evaluating whether proper care and attention were applied throughout the SDLC phases. Question 36. What is the term used to define where data is geographically stored in the cloud? A, data privacy rights. B, data sovereignty. C, data warehouse. Or D, C, data warehouse, or D, data subject rights. The correct answer is B, data sovereignty. Data sovereignty refers to the concept that data is subject to the laws and regulations of the country where it is physically stored. In cloud computing, understanding data sovereignty is critical, as different regions may have varying legal and privacy requirements for data storage and handling. To put the previous question in context, when you create an account in Microsoft Entra or in any cloud provider for that matter, it could be AWS or Google GCP. For example, here in Microsoft Entra, let's say that we are going to create a mailbox for a user. So once you create that account, here's the account. To create the mailbox, you need to specify the user location of the user, whether it is in the United States or in Albania, Argentina, etc. Microsoft has data centers all over the world. And if you are in a specific country in which there is no data center, then you would choose something that is close to wherever you are. But in either case, so because this user is in the United States, you got to choose the United States. When you create a mailbox, there are several components to that mailbox, right? Office 365 is composed of an email address that has a mailbox, Microsoft Teams for collaboration, OneDrive, and all of those pieces store data in different places. Microsoft Teams, depending on the data, could store data in the mailbox, in OneDrive, or in SharePoint. And again, all of this need to be defined very carefully, because if there is a legal dispute and there is, let's say, like e-discovery, if there is a dispute and you need to have access to the data, or you need to bring that data to the court, obviously the region where that data is will have to do a lot with that dispute. So that's why this is so important. Question 37. Which of the following does the security design process ensure within the system development lifecycle SDLC? A, proper security controls, security objectives, and security goals are properly initiated. B, security objectives, security goals, and system tests are properly conducted. C, proper security controls, security goals, and fault mitigation are properly conducted. Or D, security goals, proper security controls, and validation are properly initiated. The correct answer to this question is A, a proper security controls, security objectives, and security goals are properly initiated. Within the System Development Lifecycle, or SDLC, the security design process ensures that 1, security controls are identified and incorporated, 2, security objectives are clearly defined, and 3, security goals are aligned with organizational and system needs, all during the design phase to ensure a secure foundation is established early in the development. Question 38. Which of the following is most important to follow when developing information security controls for an organization? A, use industry standard best practices for security controls in the organization. B, exercise due diligence with regard to all risk management information to tailor appropriate controls. C, review all local and international standards and choose the most stringent based on location. Or D, perform a risk assessment and choose a standard that addresses existing gaps. The correct answer here is D, perform a risk assessment and choose a standard that addresses existing gaps. When developing information security controls, the most important step is to perform a thorough risk assessment. This helps identify the organization's specific vulnerabilities, threats, and gaps, allowing you to choose or tailor controls that directly address actual risks, rather than relying solely on general best practices. Now, this is a difficult question, or could be difficult depending on how you approach this question, because if you look at it, all the answers are correct. For example, in choice A, best practices, yes, of course, you want to choose best practices, but a best practice may not necessarily address the organization's unique risks. B, due diligence. Yes, due diligence is extremely important, but not as foundational as performing a risk assessment. And C is also important because location specific standards matter, but effectiveness depends on actual risk relevance. So control should be based on risk. And that's why performing a risk assessment in this case is the best answer. Question 39. When recovering from an outage, what is the recovery point objective or RPO in terms of data recovery? A, the RPO is the minimum amount of data that needs to be recovered. B, the RPO is the amount of time that it takes to recover an acceptable percentage of data lost. C, the RPO is a goal to recover a targeted percentage of data lost. Or D, the RPO is the maximum amount of time for which loss of data is acceptable. The correct answer here is D. The RPO is the maximum amount of time for which loss of data is acceptable. So recovery point objective, or RPO, defines the maximum acceptable amount of data loss measured in time. It represents how far back in time your organization can go from the point of failure without unacceptable consequences. For example, An RPO of 4 hours means that backups should occur at least every 4 hours to ensure minimal data loss. Both RPO and RTO are two very important concepts that will definitely be in the exam. So it's important that you understand exactly what they mean. So again, RPO, which is the recovery point objective, it's basically how much data can you afford to lose. So it tells how far back in time your backup can go and it still be acceptable after a disaster. For example, let's say that your company backs up its database every 6 hours. If there is a system crash at 3 p.m. and the last backup was at 9 a.m., you may lose 6 hours of data. So your RPO is 6 hours. So RPO, it's about data loss tolerance. um, RTO, recovery time objective, is how fast you need to recover. It defines how much downtime is acceptable before operation must be up and running again. So for example, after a power outage, your company decides that it can only be without the email system for 2 hours before it starts losing money or customer trust, for example. So your RTO is 2 hours. So RTO is about downtime tolerance. So these terms are very important when you have your services in the cloud, for example. If you have, let's say, Microsoft Exchange Online, which a lot of companies do have, and you are concerned about being without email for a certain number of time, all of this should be included in the SLA. So if there is a huge Microsoft outage and you are without emails for, let's say, more than 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever your SLA is, then there should be some monetary compensation. But again, all of that must be written and addressed in an SLA. Question 40, and the last in this session. Which of the following attacks, if successful, could give an intruder complete control of a software-defined networking SDN architecture? A brute force password attack on the secure shell or SSH port of the controller. B, sending control messages to open a flow that does not pass a firewall from a compromised host within the network. C, remote authentication dialing user service or radius, token replay attack. Or D, sniffing the traffic of a compromised host inside the network. The correct answer here is a brute force password attack on the secure shell or SSH port of the controller. In a software-defined networking or SDN architecture, the controller is the central brain of the network that manages flow control and policy enforcement across the infrastructure. Gaining access to the controller, especially via SSH, could allow an attacker to 1. Reprogram switches, 2. Redirect or drop traffic, 3. Exfiltrate data, and 4, among others, compromise the entire network. Thus, a successful brute force attack on the SSH port could grant full administrative control to the attacker. Thanks for watching. If you find this content useful, please remember to subscribe to my channel.